Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Ryan Ochoa. I'm with one of my favorite people ever, Adi Shankar. We are on the Bootleg Universe podcast. Enjoy.
So you're a wrestling fan. And I'm a wrestling fan. And we've never really talked wrestling. No. In all the years we've known each other, we've never talked. We got close.
With John Morrison when we were filming.
Yes.
We were almost there.
We were almost there.
We were almost Lucha. There, yeah. We were talking about Lucha. But we don't talk about that.
And we were at a WWE event together on a rooftop. And that it was like, 2011? I think it was like 2011.
Wow, that is crazy. Remember that? Yeah. The Be a Star, right?
Yeah. Like Triple H was there. Like, I mean, everyone was there. Everyone was there. Everyone was there.
We just didn't get to see John Cena.
John Cena was not there. Everyone else was there.
Everybody.
And I did my typical thing that I did back during that era is I like acted too cool for school, and I just Anyways, I don't think. But you were
geeking out.
I was geeking out. Yeah. But you were asking me a question about wrestling. Do I still like the product today?
Yes. Because I have my answer too.
I have a different relationship with it, right? So when I was a kid, I was just a fan. There wasn't like a whole lot of thought I put into it, right? I didn't go, oh, why is that guy over and that guy not over? Why did this person win the match or why did that person win the match? I just wanted my guy to win the match.
To win.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I wasn't putting thought into like, oh, they politicked backstage in order to have a false fin. I just didn't enter the purview, right? The Rock was The Rock. Stone Cold was Stone Cold. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that there was a guy behind, and I assumed, okay, that these wrestlers like Bret Hart, like, oh, maybe his house is probably pink. All of his pillows are probably hearts, right? So The Undertaker like probably lives in a coffin. So I had these like really intense backstories for like who these people were outside of the construct of this televised wrestling program, this 2-hour Monday Night Raw wrestling program.
Now
right?
3.
Now 3, but back then it was 2.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I knew. That's all I knew, and I thought it was amazing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I tried to figure out why it was the way it was. Like, why? Like, why is it? Like, who is this guy? Who is Jerry the King Lawler? Where did this guy come from? Like, this guy that's come out, and I've never seen this person before, but they've come out and the crowd's reacted. Who are they, right? Mm-hmm. What is this World Championship Wrestling? How did it come to fruition? Why are there all these guys there from that were previously from World Wrestling Federation, right? So I had all these questions because I'm a curious kid. And so I start learning about wrestling in an academic sense, first to answer the questions. I'm like, oh, okay. So there's this National Wrestling Alliance, and then World Championship Wrestling got formed, and then Ted Turner put it on prime time, and then this Eric Bischoff dude comes in, and and they like signed Hogan, they signed Macho Man. Okay, cool, I get it, right? And then you're like, okay, well, who are the decision makers behind the scenes? Mm-hmm. And for me, like, wrestling was like an endless source of curiosity. It was just like an endless, because the deeper I looked, the more I could learn. And there aren't a lot of things like that, or they weren't a lot of things in the entertainment sphere at that time. We're talking like, late 90s, early 2000s. There weren't a lot. Really, we're talking early 2000s, right? Because I graduated high school in 2003. So we're talking early 2000s.
Yeah.
There weren't a lot of things in the entertainment sphere where there was so much information out there. And granted, not all of it was correct, but there was just a lot of information out there. And like, it's not like, hey, I want to find out how Battlestar Galactica was made. It's not like, you get like the corporate, like, oh yes, and this happened. And it's like a corporately approved, sanitized version, right? So wrestling didn't have like a narrative. It was like you got to kind of construct your own narrative with all these like little narratives that were being told. So I got really into it. And then my love of wrestling went from being this thing that I watched as a kid to almost a sociological experiment. Because I realized like, oh, this makes sense because the crowd is a character in the art form. Mm-hmm. And you can't pay the people to cheer, right? Like if you watch Married with Children, like I went to a Married with Children taping when I was like, I got the opportunity to when I was super young in the crowd to see it. And they wrote, Married with Children was a big sitcom on Fox, right?
Yeah.
So, and when you were in the crowd, an usher would come and say, okay, there's going to be a sign when it says applause, right? So they're telling you, okay, when Al Bundy says this joke, whether you find it funny or not, here's the moment to applause. Here's the moment not to applaud. So the crowd in a sitcom is controlled. In wrestling, the crowd is wild, right? It's like it's more of like a sports crowd who want to believe, who want to buy into the product. So then I realized, oh, the crowd is determining who becomes a megastar and who doesn't, right? And sure, there are booking things that will kind of hurt someone's credibility and they would kind of lose momentum and whatnot. And that definitely happens, right?
Yeah.
Gimmick changes where a guy like goes from being like a barbarian to all of a sudden an assassin or making it sound ridiculous.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the crowd has a vote. And that to me, then I went, okay, this is kind of sociological because then now you can see trends that are happening in society in real time. Because this is a touring company. World Wrestling Federation is a touring company that is like touring around the country.
Yeah. Well, now the world.
Now we're the world. But around the country back then, now the world.
Yeah.
And you're seeing in real time, oh, if you put a guy on and he's like smiling and going, not going to work. That same dude puts on sunglasses and starts bad-mouthing the crowd loves it. Okay, something has shifted in society, right? The fact that Stone Cold Steve Austin, who at any other juncture in history before then would have been the top bad guy, became like the top good guy, says where we were as a culture, right? There's some data I was getting from wrestling, and then also learning how big entertainment companies, corporations worked. Just learning about how it operated behind the scenes, it prepared me for Hollywood in a way that like nothing else could, because everything else here was a sanitized narrative.
Wow.
But there I was like, oh, okay, this is how it works. Like, just like little things like, oh, wrestlers, even small practices, like they go in and they shake everyone's hand. If you're a wrestler, you come and you shake all the veterans' hands, right? Okay, cool. Why is that happening? Because this is like a small ecosystem. This is a small group, and you need to show respect to the elders to be invited into the club, and then they'll make you look good. And by them making you look good, you have a better shot of being over with the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. I mean, it's kind of obvious when I say it out loud, but it's not obvious when you're young. You at least my natural instinct was to walk into a room and like act like I was the coolest guy in the room.
That's funny that you say that because, yeah, I'm listening to you. I was like, well, it all makes sense, but it's almost like not necessarily the obvious, but yeah, it's like that's why you watch it. But I could see, again, that video I just showed you, that little boy didn't know. He just watched it,
Yeah, you're just watching it. You're just watching it, right? Like I remember.
But I mean, that's part of growing up too. You know what I mean? You start to realize and
not necessarily.
And
not necessarily, because we are in the entertainment ecosystem, right? So we've peered behind the curtain, and you at a very young age, you've peered behind the curtain of what entertainment is. If you are a school teacher or literally in any other profession, you're not devoting brain power to thinking about how this works.
Yeah.
The thing it works like this. You press a button and people appear on your TV.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost like you said we're a part of it. It's like me watching like scary movies. You know, I've made a few, you know, horror films, but still I'm not a fan of watching. Like my brothers love it, but every time they watch one, I'm never watching it but it's like, dude, you know how they're made. But it all goes down to preference and really like entertainment. You know, I mean, that's why my younger brother still watches, you know, he watches every, you know, televised airing. But I just look at it now as it's just, you said back then there wasn't that many there, but everything's entertainment now. It's like going to see a movie. You know, the formula of what's going to happen, but it's just a matter of sitting there for 2 hours.
But you know the formula.
Yeah.
You know the formula.
It's different because,
Dude,
I
was in LA at a meditation retreat and someone asked me something about, it was some very basic question about movies, right? These are not movie people. These are all like meditation kind of yoga people. And I just kind of, not flippantly in a rude way or a mean way. I just kind of quickly, because I didn't want to get into a long explanation where I felt like I was lecturing people on how things work. I just said, yeah, it just worked. You know, the story structure is pretty standard. It goes like this and then that and then this and then that. And then you have this moment here, which ties back there that brings the emotional triumph. And then and then they were like, whoa, what? Like it was like like Morpheus had pressed a button and everyone had seen ones and zeros around them. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't take this for granted. You've grown up in the business. So these things are like kind of obvious to you how the Lego pieces fit together. For most people, they aren't. For most smart people, they're not.
Actually, I mean, it really makes you think because it's like, it's one thing that I always it's really cool to see. But I always ask my brother, like, every single venue that WWE shows up in, they're sold out.
For sure.
It is just 50 to 60,000 people in the crowd. It's like 50,000 people every single week. And it goes back to whether they know or they don't, like you just said, who knows? They are there to see it, whether they know what's going to happen or not. It's just it's very fascinating to see, like, yeah, do they have the conversations with us, or it's just like they look at it like, wow, this is like a spectacle, you know?
No, they look at it as like that. Wow, this is a spectacle.
Like, yeah, like when that music hits. But then again, I look at it like that when Brock Lesnar comes out. My brother's like, Ryan, guess who's going to be on? Guess what? I'm the first one there waiting for that doom, doom, doom. And I just, oh my God, you know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine being like, I've not been to a live event since Brock Lesnar's been back, and it's very upsetting. He came back the year after I was at SummerSlam. But
2012?
Yes. Yeah, because he came out after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
When John Cena won the belt.
So you went the year Randy Orton beat Christian for the WWE for the heavyweight title.
Gosh,
the gold belt, the WCW belt. That's the year you went.
Dang, if
that is the year you went. Yeah.
The last time
because you were in that box with Kellen.
No. Stephanie McMahon invited us to SummerSlam.
Yeah.
That, and trying to think, I know John Cena. I think it was for sure it was when CM Punk and him had the dual titles.
Yes. I remember that. And then you had that amazing photo with Stephanie.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
That was the last one that we went to. But with all that being said, when Brock Lesnar, he's been back many times. I mean, since he's had like 3 or 4 WrestleManias since. Mm-hmm. You know,
that was 2011. I believe that was 2011.
Yes, yeah. Headlines. Mm. But still, he came back.
Why are you such a fan of Brock Lesnar?
Brock and Rock, or Rock and Brock? I gotta say They're
I
my
would
two.
not peg you as a guy that would be a fan of Brock
Oh,
Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar is seriously.
You seem like a Rey Mysterio guy.
I just saw a video with him and John Cena. John Cena's when he rhymed with him was super funny.
What about?
I actually met Ray though.
Yeah.
I met Ray at not at that. It was at a different SummerSlam. It was the year before. It was the year before or year after. And his daughter recognized me in the crowd. And then after they came and got me and they brought me backstage to Ray and I met Ray, he gave me a signed shirt, a signed Rey Mysterio mask. But then also I saw like Kelly, Randy Orton back there. But I actually, for the first time ever, I saw backstage at a WWE pay-per-view. It's crazy.
It's amazing.
That going back to like seeing things, that was like, wow, like they actually have trailers back here. Like, you know, that again, it goes back to, it's like a whole new world, you know, the life they live is just so different from what we all, you know what I mean? And that is what makes me a fan. That is what makes me a fan, is that the world they live feels so different. Like when Brock Lesnar comes out, I always wonder, like, what does the curtain look like right before he comes out? Or what is he thinking? That's what I think when people are like, okay, this is really weird. But that's what I was thinking about. Like, what's the first thought that he's thinking about? Or when Roman Reigns comes out and, you know, he's been champion for over 2 years. It's like, you know, when he's about to go through the curtain, you know what I mean? Like things like that's what I think. That's what makes me a fan of these guys, because they still, no matter what, whether it's entertainment, like I said, because that's how I look at it. I look at them as people. For sure. You know, that these guys are like global icon. Promoting the ring.
It's a good ring. Do you watch All Elite Wrestling?
No. I can't. I'm too devoted to WWE.
So you've got brand loyalty in the world of wrestling?
I have brand loyalty to WWE. I mean, I was an ambassador for Be a Star for 3 years, you know?
Sure, but you can't tell me you're an ambassador for the Rock's energy drink. You can't tell me that you'll never drink another energy drink.
I have to admit I haven't since.
Wow.
Maybe one sip.
Okay, so this isn't
maybe.
Okay, so this isn't just brand loyalty. You're just loyalty. You're just loyalty.
Well, it's something it's something that like I openly always talk about loyalty. For example, our music producer, we did our debut album and our first album before that, which isn't like, it's not out on streaming sites. It's only out on like SoundCloud. We've only worked with the same producer our entire music career. Right. One person. We've had many, many offers. I mean, and who knows what will happen, but that's just us basically saying, when somebody believes in me and my family, it becomes it becomes family. You become part of the family.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
It's like you. Yeah. It's like you. No matter what, if I'm doing a project, if you called me and said, Ryan, I need you here, I will do whatever I can to make my schedule work where I could be there for you. You know what I mean?
Appreciate that.
It's just the person that I am. That
is received. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you have anything?
What you got for me?